Today I'll be showing you how to do one of my Elven builds in ARK Survival Ascended using the Elven Structure Skin. You could definitely build this without the skin and maybe change the skins to something else, but this was all designed for and with these Elven Structure Skins, which is a premium cosmetic for ARK Survival Ascended. Hello there survivors, and welcome back to another build tutorial here on my channel. As always, if you enjoy seeing these types of build videos and build guides and you want to continue to see more, make sure to like the video, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and of course feel free to leave your suggestions for future builds or tutorials you'd like to see here. And if you want to check out all these Elven builds in a little bit more detail, check out the full tour video that I already made and is up on the channel. So of course we'll start out with the foundations, and it's going to be a simple start. We just want to start out with a circle of foundations like this, and then we can bring them out further with normal foundations. Then we can fill in the gaps again with our triangles, but also extend to the outside here by going from those full foundations out with these 3 triangles on every different side, and from there you can actually take out our full foundations again. We can add them in between, but also here on the outside to expand this circle a little bit further until we've gone all the way around, and then finally we can fill in these parts with 3 more triangles just to finish this whole circular shape, just like this. And now you've got a choice to make. You can either just build the tower straight on here if you just want to be able to access the ground layer from this level. Personally, I for my build, and of course the entire Rivendell build, I raised this up a little. So what I did is basically raise this entire thing up by 2 walls, which also means that if you're building in a spot where you might not be able to fit in the entire foundation, it's not really that big of a deal because it's easily done with pillars and ceilings instead, and then you can instantly raise it up to a nice height that you like. The advantage, of course, of doing it this way that I'm doing is you technically have this available as a secret basement if you'd really want to. So now that we have this, we of course want to fill it in. So we just want to follow the same pattern that we have on the foundations, and we just want to fill in this entire floor. I won't be making a staircase down into this part. If you want to, you can always of course add that in so that you can utilize the basement for whatever you see fit. But yeah, the tower itself already will have a decent amount of space, and if you combine it with my other Elven builds, you'll be able to build out your base much more anyway. So yeah, once we've done all the triangles, we want to continue to go in, follow the pattern of the foundation step by step to bring in these ceilings, and then we can add our triangles again in these gaps, and we should all meet up and have a full foundation with the walls and ceilings in place. Of course, one of these sides is going to be the entrance. So wherever you want the entrance to be, you can either build a straight staircase down, you could build a curved staircase to the sides, whatever you think is nicer. In my case, I think this is slightly nicer. And yeah, you just get a little bit more of a dynamic staircase out of here, but again, totally up to you what you prefer. Now once we have that staircase, of course we can add in our slope walls here to the sides just to fill in the gaps. If it lets you, you could even fill in the other one. You could add in a wall here or add a foundation down there, whatever you see fit. Foundation might be easier because that will probably always fit in there. We can actually continue that all the way down the front in that case, and you can add in your walls here. Then finally we can take out our slope walls and add in some shallow pieces up top there so that it all fits, and you could actually add in some railings this way. It might not let you add in the final railing depending on your landscape, but yeah, this way you have a little bit more of an interesting entrance to the base, to the tower, than just your standard stairs going straight down. So to continue, we want to start adding in these gateways, and we can actually go all the way around the entire tower here to add them in as kind of the framework for the entire build. There we go. And then of course in the main one here at the front, we can use a gate itself so that we can enter this building. We want to change these all to the stone set so that we get these nice arches to use as, yeah, well, pretty much the framework for this bottom layer of the tower. As you can see, there's some absolutely lovely details on these that will help us form this first layer. We want to take out our beams and actually place them all around the bottom here, except of course where we have the entrance, but everywhere else we want to add this as a kind of divider, and we can change them to the dark wooden skins so that we have some nice contrasting beams going all the way around the place. And especially if everything below this is skin to the stone texture, it will look very, very nice. Then we can start filling in these walls by just filling them all the way up to the top of these gateways. And of course, that's something that we want to do all the way around this tower. So yeah, we want to just keep going, filling in these walls just to form up the first layer here. And technically, if you really wanted to, you could add a gate to some of these instead of the walls if you want to be able to use it as an entrance, maybe to fly in with flyers. It really all depends on your needs and preferences, but in this case I'm just going to go for windows everywhere. We're going to use the ornament skin again to get some nice details, and as you can see, this fits very nicely with the gate skin. You can see all the nice textures on the gates, and we can use these ornament walls as some very nice window pieces, which we want to do for all of these so that we get to enjoy the views of our surroundings whilst being fully enclosed here on the inside. So yeah, we want to just go all the way around until we meet the very end where we have started. And yeah, that is kind of the first layer of the build. So for the next layer, we want to start on the roofs. The easiest way is to find the full ceilings, and above the full ceilings is where we'll have some full roofs, and then in between we'll have one going down on the outside. So that's basically the kind of pattern that we want to follow with these roofs, just to make sure that it all matches up with everything. So add those in wherever we can. Then we want to bring out our triangle pieces. We want to add them in between these sections to fill in the rest of the roof, just like this, which is going to add a little bit more depth as well, because we have this overhang on the outside. It just makes it all look a little bit nicer in my opinion. And of course we want to do this just all the way around, following the shape of the building until we are back at the start here at the entrance. We want to have two of the pieces sticking out like this so they don't interfere with the gateway itself. You can take out our triangle ceilings, add 3 of them here, and at the full roofs up above. Seems like I've forgotten one pit here with some triangles, but there we go. We have the entire roof in place, and now we can change all of these roofs to the right variants. So yeah, we want to change all of these all the way round. And of course you could pick a different skin for the roof if you want to have a different look, but I really like this pattern on them, so that's why I'm going for this aesthetic. Yeah, just love these lines, these stripes, blue accent colors. I think those look really, really nice. And then we've completed that. Then we're going to change some skins. I'm using the variant cycle tool to speed things up a little bit, but you can just, of course, interact with the skin and change the variants that way. On these triangles, we can change until we have this pattern, which matches up with the roofs a little bit nicer this way. And then we can actually go around here for these triangles above the entrance. We want to change the variant until we get the right one with the trims on the sides. You can do that for both. For full roofs, we can also change the variants until we get to the one with the trim at the bottom. And then for these sections with the triangle roofs, you want to bring out some beams, skin those, and then change those variants to the trim. And this way we can go all the way around the building to make sure that we add this nice trim as a little bit of extra detail for our build. Once we've done that, it is of course time to move on to the next section of the build. And every section where we have this one roof facing the inside is where we can add a full ceiling in the mix. And then for all of these other sides is where we can add 3 of them. But of course we can also add the singular one here to these full ceilings we already placed. And this way we can start by filling in the next layer here of this build. We want to once again take out our full ceilings, add them here against the triangles, not there. And then the middle we'll leave open for a little bit. We want to start from the entrance. That's what we want to keep in mind. And then we want to add these 3 ceilings and then one more over there. We'll keep the rest of this gap because now if we go underneath them, we should be able to add a nice staircase coming down like this, which is going to make sure that you can get up and down the build. Of course, we can then take out our pillars, make sure we add them in as a supporting measure, and this way you can get up and down. And for now, we just want to add these 2 railings before we start working on the next layer, because the tower is going to go up even higher. So the next layer is quite simple. On these singular ceilings, we want to add a large wall at the very end to build up this part of the tower quite easily. You can already see it taking shape a little bit. Then we want to take out our gateways and we want to add those in between those walls we've just placed, so we can have more of those awesome looking windows. Again, for this layer, if you want to use one of these as gates, maybe so you can fly in with a flyer, you can definitely do so. Otherwise, we're going to slowly just fill this all up to the top with our walls so that we can have some more beautiful windows here to enjoy the views of your surroundings. So yeah, you want to build all of these up all the way to the top here. And then finally this one, just like so. Of course, doesn't look too special yet. So what we want to do instead is we want to, of course, start adding in the windows first of all. So we'll change these gateways to the right skins again. There we go. And then inside of these, of course, we want to change them to these ornament wooden skins so that we get some nice windows to look out from, which is definitely gonna give you some more light on the inside again. And we'll keep the same kind of style as we did down below. Now on these large walls, as well as the walls above these gateways, we actually want to use the trim skin to get some nice details. There's a little bit more decoration options on those walls. I'll show that once we look at the final tower. But yeah, we want to definitely add those in as a little bit extra detail, as well as adding in some pillars for support. So alongside these large walls, we want to make sure to snap these pillars going up. And very importantly, that we snap them to these large walls so that they are facing all the same kind of direction. And we want to bring those all the way up, just to break up these walls a little bit. Make them look a little bit nicer. There we go. So yeah, again, we just want to go all the way around, adding these in. There we go, the final one here. And there we go. And once we've placed in those pillars, we actually want to change them to the wood skin, just for the nice contrast it has with the walls that we're using here. So we want to build these all the way up through this layer, just to get a little bit of that nice contrast going. Also complements very well, of course, with the actual textures of the windows that we have. So it all ties itself back together. And once we've done this, we can of course start on the roof for the next layer. So we want to start on the roof again. So we'll take out our normal roofs, and against all of these large walls is where we want to have the roofs come in by one. So we'll start with those going all the way around the outside here to build up the next layer. And then in between, of course, we want to add in our triangle pieces. And yeah, we can continue that for this one layer all the way round, making sure to add them in the right spots. So just like this, that's the basic shape that we need for now. And then from those large walls, we can also build down our triangle pieces, just to have a little bit of that overhang, of course, here on the outside, which is always appreciated, I think. Just makes it all look a little bit less flat. And then with these triangles still in hand, we want to change to the corner pieces, and right above these gates we want to add these corners and make them stick out a little bit like that. So just like this, we're going to add a little bit more interest here to these roofs, make them stand out a little bit more and just look a lot nicer in general. So yeah, we want to go around the entirety of the build to make sure that this all fits in nicely. And of course, once again, that means that we can skin the entirety of this roof, and at the bottom and the outside layer here, you can make sure to change the variance until we have, well, the trim going all the way around the edge, which also means that for these sections with the triangles, you actually want to make sure that you add these beams in between so you can make the trim continue. So you want to do that for all the different sections, and make sure that you change the variance to the ones that the trims are showing, just as we did for the first part of the roof, because I mean, it's just a really nice addition that they are in these skins, so you might as well use them to make the roof look a little bit nicer. And if you want to go all out with the details, you can also use some beams on top of here, because if we have those skinned, we can also change those variants to get a nice trim for the roof, as well as a nice ending piece here with some really great details. So yeah, again, we want to then make sure that we add these for all of the sections. So you want to go all the way around, add those in if you want those trims to be complete. And then of course it's a matter of continuing the next layer up here. So we want to bring out our full ceilings. We want to add one right there, right here, and then basically follow this pattern all the way around, which also means we can add in the triangles here in between, just like this, to make sure that we complete the circle. So right now below, this is where the staircase ends, and in our case we want to make sure that it starts right over here. And then we should be able to add in the staircase itself, just like this. And it should all line up pretty nicely. So yeah, you can kind of continue the staircase down. Now, it also means that we should be able to bring up this pillar that we have coming in the previous layer. We can keep that going all the way to the new layer, which also means that, as we can see, we do have a little bit of a gap here. We can close that off. We know it won't interfere with the staircase now, and we can bring this all the way to this level here. We can also surround this staircase just like this for this new layer up here. And then for these walls, we just want to make sure that we bring them all up by 2 in total. Just build up the next layer here of the build. So everywhere all around us, we're gonna raise up these walls by 2. Then the walls are all going to be skinned with a trim skin. So for now, we'll just focus on the roof, adding these above the full ceilings to get this shape going. And we can also make them go out here in between these sections to make sure that we still have that overhang going on everywhere. We want to take out our triangle roofs, of course, and start filling in the gaps for this layer so that we have this tower continue. And just like this, we want to go all the way round. So we're almost at the final layer, because you can see there's one more layer to come. We want to take out our balls again. We actually want to change to the double doorways, and we want to add those in on every different section here, which might appear weird at first, but I promise is gonna look quite nice. It of course also means we can skin this entire roof, and wherever we have the triangle pieces, of course, we can add in our beams so that you can still continue the same trims as we've been doing on all of the roofs. They should all meet up if you do it like this. And of course, up here, we actually want to add in our doors so that we have that layer filled in. We can change them all with these skins all the way round, just like this, which looks a little bit weird to begin with, but it will look a lot nicer. And if you want to keep the contrast that we have had on the rest of the build, you might actually want to skin this middle with the dark wood instead, just so that it matches up a little bit. And then we'll be changing the variants. First, the doors themselves, we want to change to this curved version so it looks a little bit nicer. And then the door frame, we want to change to these, again with the dark wooden accents in it, just because that contrast is something that looks quite nice and that we can definitely use. So we want to go all the way around with those pieces so that we get this. And then we can take out our triangle roof pieces again, and then we can actually just go around the entire top layer of this build. Of course, change all of those to these skins. And then before we do anything, we want to take out our thin pillars. We want to add 2 of them over here. You can skin them to whatever you prefer, but I really like the look of these ones. Then we're going to change the variance on this to make a nice curved tower. You can do this, but you can even make them a little bit steeper, so it's a little bit taller, a little bit more of an actual pointy tower. That's why we had 2 of those pillars to still stick out on top of it. And you can see that's a really nice top for this tower. Then of course you want to skin the rest of these roof pieces, the trims, etc. And these walls, I'm going to show how to skin them in a second. So this is the full tower connected to my Rivendell build, and we can see some of the missing pieces. So these large walls skinned with the trim skins have a few variants, I believe, and one of them has these nice little white accents on them, which I really enjoyed. Then if you skin these walls to the trim variants and you change them until you get these windows, that's some extra nice details that you can add in too. And then for this layer, we can alternate. So we want to have some of these windows with the trim skin, and then we want to use the trim skin just to get these nice dark wooden bottom trims. And that's the way it alternates all the way around. And then the layer above, again with that trim skin, we want to bring back those nice white accent pieces just to make it look a little bit nicer. And you can see how the roof looks once you add in all the little trims around the outside. The tower itself makes for a pretty nice looking build. I've combined it here with the Rivendell build, but you can totally use this tower separately as well, as it still offers a decent amount of space. So if we take a look on the inside, well, this is of course Rivendell, so we won't focus on that too much, but this is my entrance. It's slightly different because I adjusted it, of course, to work with the Rivendell build, but this room is exactly the one that we've built. You can see I added just a bunch of libraries around with some statues and these lights as nice little details around. We've got some benches around as well, just to add a little bit of decorations and details. But you can see there's definitely a decent amount of space in here, so you can totally use this as your main crafting and storage room, for example. I decided to go for the white wood or the light wood here in the middle for the stairs and the beams. If you go all the way up with these, we'll get to the next layer. We got some more libraries. We got these beautiful rugs that also have a great skin in the Elven cosmetic, and we have some of the sofas here, the couches looking very nice. A deco box changed into some plants just to add some greenery, but again, a decent amount of space on this layer, so if you want to make it into something more practical, you totally could. And then if we continue to go up all the way to the top layer, we'll reach a nice and cozy bedroom. So we have a bed right here, we have some plants, even more libraries because they just look awesome with these elven skins, and then we have another sofa here just to round it all off, as well as some storage with this amazing looking skin too. But yeah, you can see you can make a nice and cozy bedroom, and then of course you have some light coming in from the very top layer as well. So yeah, there we go. That's how you build this Elven Tower in ARK Survival Ascended using the Elven Structure Skins, which I absolutely love. Hopefully you enjoyed this build tutorial. If you did, don't forget to leave a like, of course. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I really appreciate all the supports. And feel free to leave your suggestions for future builds or tutorials you'd like to see down in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.